All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Three-Headed Hydra podcast. All right, we have Josh and we have Mr. James on the other side of the line. My name is Sal, and we're going to talk about Joe Rogan moving to Spotify. I must say, I was a bit shocked when I heard that. I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, as I believe you are as well. Moving to Spotify kind of feels weird, I must say. What do you think?
You want to go, James, or should I?
Mate, I'm very interested to know what you two think about this because I am absolutely clueless about this so far. So please,
okay, man, I've got some things to say. I think it's a good move overall. And you know, at first I kind of felt it was a little bit anti-Rogan. You know,
Right.
kind of not what he stands for, because he's kind of all about. He's made a point all the way. Well, as long as I've been watching, I've probably been watching from about 700s kind of time. So I can't say I'm an original. But he seems to be all about. He seems to be all about. What would you say? I mean, me and you kind of got into it at the same time.
8 years, no?
Oh, I don't know. Well, how long has he been going for? How long have I been watching?
No, I mean the 700s. I think 8 years or so. No, it's quite a long time.
Let's see. Okay. Let me see when he published the first episode. I think he started earlier than the first YouTube video that he uploaded, but let me see when
Pull it up,
actually uploaded the first one.
I'm pretty sure you can find number one. It was with Brian Redban, wasn't it? Brian Redban.
Sorry, Dan. So what do you think he stands for?
I think he stands for independence in creativity. So at first I was kind of a little bit. I kind of thought, wow, this is a little bit anti-Rogan. And then when you think about it, it's no different to it being on YouTube because Spotify is accessible without having to pay for it. There's not a pay barrier. You just will get adverts like you would if you were to watch it on YouTube and you didn't pay for YouTube Premium. And I guess, you know, he's a smart guy. He'd have worked it all out in the contract. He won't stand for any he won't let them have any say over what you can say and what you can't. You wouldn't have thought, would you? And he has sponsors that he's probably a little bit beholden to, although he's got the power in that sense. You know, he wouldn't have been selling out. You really wouldn't have thought, would you? I'd be surprised if somewhere down the road. A lot of people say he's a sellout anyway, but yeah, that's what people say. From how he used to be, he's not as raw. But I mean, I guess that just comes with popularity, doesn't it? You get a lot more backlash for you can't speak as freely. And also, I think that's a lot of his conspiracy fans that come down on him because he's just wised up, you know? He just looks for the facts now. Whereas he used to get lost in the conspiracy, and then he has all these experts on that debunk everything. And
he used to believe in Bigfoot, I believe. By the way, the first video I found, but I do believe that he already started the podcast before uploading to YouTube. The first video on YouTube is from January 17th, 2013.
Ah.
And what number's that, Sal?
Number one, with Brian Redban.
2013.
Yep. But as I said, he might have recorded the podcast before, but he just uploaded them in 2013, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'd imagine. He probably just found somewhere that, you know, they probably did record the number one but never uploaded it, and they just maybe thought people would be interested.
So just for people who are listening that maybe have no idea what we're talking about, Joe Rogan Experience is a very, very famous podcast that, correct me if I'm wrong, has always been available on YouTube, right?
No, I think it started out on some other strange platform. I think Justin TV, something like that. And they started just live streaming there. I think YouTube just actually started way later in the game. I think they were doing the live streaming, then the audio version, and then at some point they uploaded it also to YouTube for fun. And then they realized after a few years, actually, hey, we're making a lot of money here. So the shift went a bit more to YouTube.
And what would be the devil's advocate to say that Joe Rogan has sold out? What are the points there? I don't even understand.
Well,
it's the fear that they'll be beholden to a big company, so his opinions will be. I don't know. I guess there's things he may be able to say if he wasn't beholden to the big company. Is that argument?
I guess they're afraid that once he now is being paid by a company, that he's gonna have to water down his his interviews or his podcast. However, I'm pretty sure he made sure that when he signed the contract, that basically, I'm sure he asked him a few times, but the way I run my show, right? You know what I'm talking about. You know the
Yeah.
kind of guests I have on, right? You know that sometimes I have some controversial guests on as well, right? So I'm quite sure that when they were negotiating, uh, they basically told him, yeah, just do whatever you want, because they really want his followers to move to Spotify. And that's the thing that I find a bit annoying, let's say, because very often, I'm not sure how you actually watch or listen to the Joe Rogan podcast. If you actually listen to it, what I always do, to be honest, I just open it on YouTube, and whether I'm listening or watching, but sometimes I also just open the YouTube window, and it runs while I'm working. So then I listen, or I have another window open, so I can every now and then, if something interesting is happening, can take a sneak peek at the video. I wonder how that's going to work with Spotify. I don't think that they have a video function as of yet. I'm not sure about that. I never saw any.
I'm pretty sure, I'm not presuming here, I'm pretty sure they were going to, up the efforts on the videos. I
Right.
think they do have a video function, but they're going to put more effort in because of the Joe Rogan.
For Joe Rogan,
I can't remember where I heard that, but I'm pretty sure I'm not just presuming,
Right. And then the question is, because there's a paid version of Spotify and a free version. The free version, basically, if you just download the app Spotify, or if you use the web browser version, you just open the app, and if you don't pay for it, if you go with the free version and you just want to listen to whatever musician or podcast you want to listen to, you type it in, you listen to it, and then every now and then there's a commercial break, right? That's how they finance their free model, freemium. Then there's the pro version that has, besides not cutting off all the commercials, it also allows you to download tracks to your device, which is a function I use sometimes when I have to go to places where there's no internet, and I know I have to put on a playlist. I use the pro version to download stuff. Now I wonder how that's going to work with all the new subscribers, because Joe Rogan actually has his own sponsors, right? So if you listen to the audio version of the podcast, he also it's like a 10-minute preamble to every podcast where he promotes his sponsors. I don't think it's on the YouTube version. So I wonder how they're going to solve that, because I don't want to listen to his. So the YouTube thing is, the great thing is with YouTube, I watch it without all the commercials. There might be a commercial YouTube puts on in front of the video clip, and to be honest, I use an ad blocker, so I don't even see that. But and then you jump right into the content, okay? Now,
really? So on YouTube, when you're watching that an advert never interrupts if you don't pay for YouTube. An advert doesn't interrupt the Joe Rogan podcast still.
No, because I use an ad blocker on YouTube, so it's just a plugin that you install, and it blocks out all the ads, which is pretty useful. Probably the publishers are not so happy about that, but it's completely legal, and to be honest, it's also just too much advertisement everywhere.
Slippery German man, so.
Yeah. I mean, okay, I understand. It's a fine line, and
that's fucking illegal.
No, it's not.
I know. That was my Dana White impression, by the way. I didn't get the reference. I wasn't swearing for.
And so, also, if there's some content that's really interesting, and I support the project, I'm happy to pay for some stuff too. So it's not that I just want everything for free. However, that's besides the point. I'm not talking about ad blockers now. I wonder how that's going to work though with Spotify. So are we going to listen to the sponsor announcements that Joe Rogan already uses for his regular podcasts, his audio version? And then plus, if you use the free version of Spotify, is the podcast going to be interrupted by these free commercials?
It's a good question. Can you not get an ad blocker that will work in the same way for Spotify? I don't know how the technology works with an ad blocker.
I don't think that exists. I don't think that's possible. Well, probably it's possible if you can think about it. You can make it happen somehow. I guess that would
possible.
be. I guess that would be illegal though.
Never give up on your dreams.
Yeah, no, that's it. Well, that's a good point for the negatives of going to Spotify, I suppose. But I would imagine that there would be some kind of ad blocker. If you can get one for YouTube, I would have thought that you can get something for Spotify.
Right, but There's one thing that came to mind first, just because I have a routine and a convenience about the way that I'm listening to Joe Rogan's podcasts, and I believe, if I understand correctly, they're gonna take down all the already existing content. All it's gonna move exclusively to Spotify. So all the videos on
Yeah.
YouTube that are out there now are not
Mhm.
gonna be there anymore. Okay.
Guys, can I put out a hypothesis and then you can tell me if you disagree?
Go on.
Sure.
Well, just coming from a completely ignorant standpoint on this about the Joe Rogan move, all I know is that he's making $100 million, which I wish him all the best for. I think he's earned it. It just seems to me that you're just replacing one set of incomes with another set of incomes. You're replacing your YouTube sponsors with your Spotify money. Like if we assume that Joe Rogan's not going to change his attitude and change his honesty in the way he delivers podcast, is it going to make any difference to us?
No. And well, I guess not.
No, from a abstract point of view, I think it's the same. It's just that you have to use Spotify. You're forced to use Spotify. Now I have the option, if I would want to listen to a podcast, because now it's technically a podcast. Okay, a podcast uses an RSS feed, which means you can use any podcast or most podcast applications to listen to any podcast that you want. That's it's kind of it's open source. That's what podcasts are about. Once it moves to Spotify, it's technically not a podcast anymore. If I want to listen to it with my podcast program of choice, which can be any program that that allows me to listen to podcasts, I cannot access it anymore. So it's not technically a podcast anymore. Basically, Spotify is buying his format, like Netflix, and puts his show onto their platform. It's not technically a podcast anymore. It's the same format in the sense they still have gonna be having guests on and use a microphone and have a conversation. Yes, but it's not a podcast anymore technically.
Man, I'm just happy that Joe Rogan's making money because I think he provides a public service to the world. Honestly.
Oh, sure.
When you have people as diverse as Alex Jones fighting the most ridiculous conspiracy theories you've ever heard, and then Bernie Sanders on the other end of the political spectrum on the same podcast, and they get fair questioning. Man, if the man makes money, then that's fine by me.
Yeah, definitely. Just because just before we say about why Rogan's so good, the other difference between the Spotify thing, well, I'm not sure how this will work. Do you know Rogan used to be able to play clips of videos, and then YouTube started pulling him. So he often talks about having the problems with YouTube. So I don't know what parts of that would be better on Spotify. Obviously, they've got more rights to.
That's a very good
more
point.
rights to music, but his show isn't overly music based. But I wonder how that will play into it. Whether they'll, I don't know, cough up some money so they can play clips of things.
I mean, theoretically, the problem YouTube has there are two problems. One is the copyright. So I don't think he will get around that because copyright is not something that YouTube just made up. It's something that is constrained by the law, and so there's something that everybody has to respect. The second thing, though, I think, is the demonetization problem that they have. So very often they would not play some content because they're not afraid of the copyright issue, because maybe especially in the States, I'm not sure if in the UK they have the same thing, the fair use clause, so that you can basically use footage if you analyze it and document it or comment on it, rather than just copying it or stealing it or whatever. So I could take a news clip in the States, play a few seconds of that, and then comment on it afterwards. Okay, I don't think I could do this here in Italy, for example, by law. But the other issue that they have is not the copyright itself, but the demonetization of YouTube. So if they would play a certain clip of some other YouTuber or whatever it is, then YouTube's algorithms would detect that and basically make sure that no matter what the context is of showing that video clip, they're not going to make any money off that entire 3-hour segment. So if they show a video clip for 20 seconds, all 3 hours of the whole podcast episode are going to be demonetized. And so
is it the way I understood it was that the people whose clip they're playing, whoever owns the rights to that, asks for the money from the podcast. That's what I've heard them talk about. So it's
Well,
not
that
just YouTube taking away the money. It's the people whose clip they're playing, whoever owns the rights to that, is trying to
right.
get money from them. I'm not
That
sure if I'm
that
right
will be
on
a
that.
copyright issue then, I suppose. But yeah, it's possible. It
Sorry,
depends.
Sal.
I mean, look, if I write a song and he's gonna play the song on his show, I mean, to be honest, personally, I'd be happy. I would not ask for any money because he probably would just have made me a lot of money by promoting it for free, you know. So I'd be very happy about it, to be honest. But I guess there's some people who see it in a different way, or maybe they're just opportunistic, or maybe sometimes it's just lawyers doing their jobs, so the artists are not even aware of that, and so he gets a cease and desist letter, and they just want to share of the money.
Bloody liars.
But that's a good point you raised there, Josh. Like, it could be that problem would be partially resolved because there would be no demonetization on parts of Spotify, because it's a completely different business model in that regard, right?
I was listening to a podcast talking about this the other day, which was brilliant. It's with Charlemagne the God. Is everyone aware of Charlemagne? I sent you. You were watching a video yesterday. Charlemagne did the interview with Joe Biden, which
This morning, then.
went viral. Yeah, okay, this morning. Anyway, he does a podcast, and they were talking about it, and they seem to think that Rogan had made like 30 million 1 year off of his podcast. Anyway, I don't know where they were getting these numbers from, but that suggests that he should be getting probably more, because you wouldn't sell your podcast for if his deal is, from what I understand, 3 years for 100 million. You wouldn't do that, would you, for an extra 10 million? Sell the rights, unless he thought there was a better reason to go on Spotify, which is maybe what I've just said. Or
so guys, can I just clarify? Obviously, Joe Rogan is a great source of information for all of us. It's actually a better source of information than the master's degree that I'm doing at the moment with the University of Nottingham, #University, #Nottingham. Will the quality of the information change, do you think? Don't shout over each other.
I don't think so. Like me and Sal have both said in different ways. I think he'd get these kind of things agreed, and also it's a 3-year contract. I'm pretty sure it's 3 or 5 years, and Spotify
It's only
want to keep
it's limited. I didn't know that. I thought it was ongoing. Okay.
Yeah, again, I'm not sure on that. I'm just
Well, one thing is interesting. I read an article on Supercast, and for example, Spotify's market cap, it jumped by $3 billion,
no doubt.
24 hours after the deal broke, and they actually make the case that they saw something, or the market saw something that Rogan missed. What they write is Spotify took his oil. And so basically the article claims that actually Joe Rogan completely undersold and he got completely ripped off. What do you think about that?
But Sal, do you think that... Okay, so a lot of people that are on his podcast, I don't know if they're sucking up to him or if they genuinely believe this, but they say something along the lines of, this is the new media. Like, nobody trusts the mainstream media. You see it, I mean, these days, which we agreed not to talk about, these days it gets smashed from left, right, and center. The mainstream media cannot be trusted. So people like Joe Rogan, who really do seem to go after a rational, sort of honest approach, are much more trusted than any of the TV channels, the media outlets in the US at the moment. Do you think that you can sell that?
No, I think it will not be sold, or I don't think that Joe Rogan will become the new mainstream media just because by the way he is as a person and he conducts his interview, and it's just in his nature, because he starts from a point of ignorance, like everyone, like all of us, and that's I think why his show is so popular. It resonates with everybody, with a lot of people, because he basically starts from a point of ignorance, he's the first one to admit he's very ignorant. And he does also some ridiculous stuff, and some of it's very entertaining. He's also a very entertaining guy, so that helps. But he starts from a point of ignorance, but at the same time, he has a very high level of curiosity and a very open mind. And so basically, together with him, we discover new topics, and we hear all kinds of sides while he discovers things. And in real time, basically, we also make up our mind. And sometimes we cringe when he believes certain things or says certain things, and sometimes we cheer with him, you know. And so I think it's in his nature, and so I don't think it's gonna change.
Are you saying, Sal, that so I think kind of the way James made it sound was that Rogan is more honest than the media, which is probably true, but I think it's
less biased. I mean,
less biased.
he
Okay, yeah.
doesn't have a clear team that he's backing. That's all I'll say.
Yeah.
Look, he's also still a businessman. He's still running a business. So to say that he's not also planning certain things or that he's completely naive about the world, and that's, of course, that's not true. Of course, but that's also that's for a different discussion because we hit the 20-minute mark, ladies and gentlemen.
God.
Yes.
Just quickly to finish
Josh.
my thought there.
Yes, please.
The reason his show is so honest and maybe gives you more than what the media does is a lot to do with the hour of time you're exposed to certain people. So you can't fake it for 3 hours, which is, right, I think, a big point of Anyway, that's it.
Not just sound bites, are they?
All right, guys. Thank you very much
Here's a sound bite for you to finish. Sound bites bite. Cut.
What?
What?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, follow us on wherever you find this video, ladies and gentlemen. The Three-Headed Hydra podcast. Josh, James, Sal, thank you very much. Bye bye.
I want to make a noise or a theme or a theme song. What noise does a Hydra make?
No.